Hello, sophomores. This is Father Manco, and we're going to have a brief discussion here on matter and form and how these relate to the sacraments. And this is a really key idea in the sacraments because it goes into how are they made, like what makes one sacrament a sacrament. The language of matter and form is borrowed from Aristotle, from his view of physics, actually. And Thomas Aquinas borrows this and applies the language and the ideas in a way to the sacraments. And this is a language and idea that's then picked up by the church and carried through the Council of Trent, and is even used in this own day, in our own day, in the Catechism of the Church and the Code of Canon Law. Okay, so what do we mean by matter and form? Well, matter would be the stuff that something is made out of. The form is the organization of matter into one organized thing. You really don't have a thing until the matter is organized in a particular way, and we're going to see exactly what we mean by that. So one example would be in construction. Fenwick High School is made of concrete, glass, stone, brick, yada yada yada, but that stuff is arranged in a certain way that gives our school this look, rather beautiful look, I think. Now, had they constructed it slightly differently, they could have come up with something that looked completely different, like this. Yeah, just a possibility I'm throwing out there. Another sort of example. Here we have a block of steel. It's the raw material, and you mold that, bend it, turn it into a certain thing, and what you have here is a U.S. Navy ship. And so you can see the difference that if you look at this picture here, and someone asks you, what is that? You say, well, it's a block of steel. It's a block. And someone asks you what this is, you're going to say a boat, a ship, a destroyer, whatever that thing is. But the point is, what makes the destroyer, and what makes the block is not what they're made of. It's their shape. It's their form. It's their organization that makes it what it is. Here's another example from the world of Harry Potter. Here we have a phoenix feather and then some wood. And this is Ollivander, the famous wand maker. And you put all these three things together. Actually, Ollivander puts the other two things together, and you get a wand, which is something that has a certain purpose and function. And it's only when you put these two things together that you get this third thing down here. If you just place a phoenix feather on top of the pile of wood, well, it's not going to do anything. So having the matter is not enough. It has to be given the proper form, and that's where Ollivander steps in. He makes the form. He takes the matter he's given and gives it a new form. And this form has properties that don't belong to either the feather or the wood by itself. Let's take another example from science. So here's a carbon atom, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. Now here's the thing about all of the elements in the periodic table. They're all made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons. Every last one of them. So the difference between all of these things here on the chart is not the matter that they're made of, protons, neutrons, electrons. What makes them each individual and unique is the number of these things that they're placed together. And when you change the number of protons and electrons, you give a thing a new form. And so that's why if you put two irons together, so iron has atomic number of 26, well, you double that, you get 52. And that brings you over here. I don't even know what that element is. So obviously, just doubling up the number isn't going to get you to this. Two iron atoms are not equal to whatever one of these things is over here. And something like here is 79. Gold is going to have very different properties than mercury, which is right next door to it, or from iridium, which is 2 doors down on the other side. Even though the atomic weight is very, very similar, and that's also true for lead. So lead has just an atomic weight of 3 greater than gold. So, 82 electrons versus 79 electrons. That's not a lot. I mean, electrons really small. But the properties of gold and the properties of lead are very different. So again, even at the basic level of physics, we see this idea of matter and form is important. It's the form, it's the organization that makes a difference. Just having a pile of protons and electrons and neutrons is not the same as having a pile of these things working together. So having a pile of 79 protons and 79 neutrons and 79 electrons, having these three separate piles, well, okay, you've got three separate piles. But it's only when you put them together and they have a certain form or organization that you get the shiny stuff, gold, which is very expensive. So again, it's the form that really determines what a thing is. It's not the matter that it's made of. All right. So how does this play into the sacraments? So there's an outward material element to the sacraments. Most of them, anyway. All of them have some physical element. Some of them actually have objects, and some just use words, sounds, which are a physical reality. But they all have words. And it's the words combined with whatever other material element is used that make a single sacrament of the church. So that's why there's a big difference between pouring water on a baby's head when you're giving it a bath and pouring water on a baby's head when you're baptizing it. The words combined with the pouring make what you're doing a new thing. You're not just giving the baby a bath, you're giving it a sacrament of the church, new life. So just as an example here, baptism, the matter would be the pouring of the water on the baptized. That's the matter of the sacrament. And the form would be the words, I baptize you in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Those are the words given by Christ in Matthew chapter 28. So if you just say the words over someone and there's no pouring of water, there's no sacrament. And if there's the pouring of water and no words, there's no sacrament. You need both matter and form in order to have a sacrament. Okay, so there's the stuff, and then there's the words that organize the stuff and make this an occasion when grace is given by God. And for all of the sacraments that we study, we're going to learn their matter and form, because knowing their matter and form helps you understand what is going on, what's the grace that's being given. Because remember, sacraments are efficacious signs. They do what they signify. So you got to get the sign, the signifier, correct. So we need both matter and form. Okay, that's all for now.